Hi guys, welcome back to the second video on the 2.8 Capri Resurrection. First things first, today I'm going to be changing the spark plugs so that we're sure we've got a good spark. Also, taking the old ones out means that I can have a look at the colour of those and see how it's been running. Obviously see if anything's flooded with fuel, see if anything's running too lean or too rich, and have a bit of a look, see if there's a load of oil in any of the bores. So here I am removing the plug leads and winding the three spark plugs out of this side of the engine. Round to the other side, same process here, removing the leads, changing the plugs, putting the new plugs back in, and then back round to the other side so that we know we've got a fresh set of plugs in there and all good, all ready to go. And now we're going to move on to the cold start valve. Basically this is just an additional fuel injector. It's electrically fired and it puts an extra shot of fuel into the side of the plenum chamber. This works a little bit like a choke would on a car that's equipped with a carburettor. Basically it just makes the mixture, the fuel and air mixture, a little bit richer while the engine is cold or during the startup process. So that's the solenoid there. We've just taken it out of the side of the plenum, as you can see. It's a little bit grubby, nothing too serious. Just making sure that the gasket that's on it is in good condition so it doesn't let any extra air in where it shouldn't. And make sure that the two little washers around the banjo bolt are creating a good seal. Sometimes they corrode, but this one looks to be in pretty good condition. There's an electrical plug there that just supplies a little 12-volt feed to it, which operates this electromagnetic solenoid. The shuttle fires backwards and forwards inside that barrel, and it atomizes and sprays a fine mist of fuel out of that little nozzle there and creates a richer fuel and air mixture for startup. This all looks to be in pretty good condition. I will just put an electrical feed onto the back of it and test it to make sure that the solenoid is firing backwards and forwards as it should be. Excuse the mess on the bench there. I've just made up a small wire which will connect into the back of the plug that I showed you a moment ago, and then we can just touch the terminals onto the battery there on the right. Now, unfortunately, my wireless mic has died during the making of this video, so you'll have to just take my word for it that as I do touch these terminals onto the top of the battery, we do get the clicking noise that you would expect from the electromagnetic solenoid in that cold start injector. Now I'm just connecting the earth side of that little wire that we've made up, just with a crocodile clip there, onto the battery, and then get hold of the live side, and you can just tap that on top of the positive terminal on the battery, and you do get a clicking noise. Unfortunately, because the mic's dead, before I realised that, I was still trying to demonstrate that, as you can see here, but that's a bit of a waste of time. And now we move on to the fuel metering head. This is a mechanical fuel metering device. It's built by Bosch. It's called the K-Jetronic system. Basically, it's just supplied with high pressure fuel from the fuel pump that we fitted in the last video, and it decides how much fuel to send to each cylinder. It provides fuel along each of these lines to each injector. We're going to take this to pieces pretty much, strip it down, make sure that everything is moving freely that should be, make sure that everything is sealed properly that should be, and then put it all back together, and hopefully will help metering the fuel and getting the car to run properly. So here we are, we're removing the clips, removing the air intake pipe, labelling up each of the fuel lines. They are quite a rigid plastic covered line, so they don't really go anywhere that they shouldn't, but just to make sure that we put them back in the correct order when it goes back together. That's it, lines out of the way, making sure we keep all the washers on the banjo bolts. So this is the top of the airbox. At first glance, everything moves freely, as it should do. It's very mucky, but that's to be expected with a car of this age that's sat for as long as it has. There's a very strong smell of stale petrol, which obviously is not going to help if there's mucky petrol in there. It doesn't ignite as readily as fresh fuel. So we're going to give this a strip down clean and make sure that we get rid of any muck that's in there, make sure that everything's moving properly, and then see how we go. So just a bit of brake cleaner and a soft cloth. Really the main reason for cleaning this at this stage is to make sure that we're not getting small pieces of muck and debris coming off while we're stripping it down, and mixing with the internal parts, which we want to keep clean and nice and tidy, so that we can put them back together without them being contaminated with other debris and waste from the outside of this metering head. So there we are, it looks a little cleaner now, and there's not any specific loose debris to speak of on there now. So we're just going to start taking things apart. I'm taking that banjo bolt out because it covers up a screw that holds the metering head down, holds the sort of the top to the bottom of the metering head. You can see where the screws come through, and they hold the whole metering head onto the top of the airbox there. There's a third screw there which is hidden by that arm. Extremely tight, and quite surprisingly each of these did come undone without any major issues. The last thing we want there is for anything to shear off. So with those three screws out, just get a small screwdriver in the side there just to prise it out of the top there, and that is the metering head freely coming away from the top of the airbox. Now inside the top of the airbox you can see the top of the arm has like a cam follower almost just there, which operates against a plunger inside the metering head, which is just there. That plunger is designed to slide up and down, and that is what dispenses the correct amount of fuel. This is very stiff in here. It should just sort of drop out of there if I was to turn the metering head up the other way, but it really doesn't want to on this one. So as you open the throttle body opens and the engine demands more air. The air rushing into the engine basically pulls on this plate and lifts it, which in turn lifts the arm and cam follower, which in turn operates this plunger inside the metering head. That then dispenses the correct amount of fuel to go with the amount of air that is being required by the engine. Now, being as this plunger isn't moving, I'm going to undo the ring of bolts or screws that go around here. They hold the top and bottom half of the metering head together, just around here. We're going to have to make sure that that plunger can operate freely before it can dispense the correct fuel. Now these little Allen bolt or Allen screws holding the top and the bottom together, so obviously making sure that we've got the right size, because they're going to be tight again like those other screws were on the outside. We don't want anything to slip. So that's the screws on the way out, so that we can separate the top and bottom halves. Now inside this fuel metering head we will find various different springs and little washers and plates and O-rings and all sorts. There are lots of parts inside there. We obviously want to take it apart carefully, being sure that we don't lose anything, being sure that we don't have anything that we don't know where it goes back together. So we've got to be very gentle as we prise it apart. And after a while of wriggling and twisting and prising, we've now got it so that the two halves are starting to come apart, and you can see that the two halves do separate with a little bit of perseverance. You can see just inside here there's a little washer and spring set up. There's 6 of them, one for each cylinder. They're obviously parts that we don't want to lose. We don't want to get anything in the wrong position when it's being rebuilt, so things won't operate properly. And you can see this is the plunger, which is actually quite stiff. It's now starting to move now that I can get onto both ends of it. But it's still a little bit stiff in that guide there, in that sort of guide tube. So we want to take it all apart, clean everything thoroughly, and then rebuild everything. So there are all the parts. There's a lot inside there. We've cleaned everything, made sure that everything operates nice and freely. We can now replace some little rubber O-rings in there and reassemble everything so that we're ready to move on. So here we are reassembling everything, making sure that everything goes back in exactly the right place, making sure that everything's tight, everything's moving freely that it should be, and everything's nice and clean inside. That's the metering head, top and bottom halves being screwed back together. Little tab washer being locked over. And then we're just going to make sure that this arm is moving freely, doing what it's supposed to do. Cleaning and reassembling that. There, everything's good. Just adjusting the arm so that it sits nice and central, ready for the metering head to go back on, and then refit the whole lot to the car. Right, so we've got the fuel system all back together now. I did find a couple of split O-rings in there after that fuel leak. They are now all replaced, so fingers crossed we're not going to have that fuel leak any longer. I've also found that the vacuum pipe for the advanced retard system that pulls the stator plate round on the distributor was loose on here, so obviously letting more air in through the inlet than it should have been, than would have been metered correctly with the fuel. So hopefully we've got a little bit better chance of it running properly now. So battery's connected, hopefully there's a bit of charge left in that. We will see what it sounds like now. There we have it, running a lot better. We need to get a cooling system set up now so that we can run it for longer, get some heat into it and get it running on all 6. We're still not quite on 6 cylinders, but we are a lot closer than we were before, so watch this space. We will get another video out as quickly as possible with it running on all 6 cylinders, back on its wheels and driving. Thanks for watching. Please remember to click like, subscribe and share it with anybody you think might be interested. The more numbers we get in the likes and subscribes, the quicker I can get the next videos out. So keep watching, like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you all soon in the next video. Thanks very much.